Welcome to this week's topic for the Good Life series, the best weekly planner. And this is to help optimize your week as a real estate professional. My name is Heather Connor, and I am a real estate agent right here in Crested Butte, Colorado, and also will be starting working in the San Diego market here very shortly. I'm a dog mom, mountain enthusiast, recovering workaholic, advocate for living a good life, both in good health and building wealth, and then also a Good Life co-host with my good friend David Matthews. This is for you if you crave a thoughtful planner that helps you summarize key metrics from the previous week. You want a simple format that identifies key professional and personal goals for the following week. And then, as well as a bonus for some of you, you may like a detailed one-pager that helps simplify your quarterly review process. While this planner is great for the review, the preview, and then the summation of quarterly goals, you are welcome to use this planner in any way that works best for you. For me, I just have found that it covers all three of these needs. So how and why the best weekly planner was created. So here's my story. As someone with an entrepreneurial mindset, we always have a lot happening both personally and professionally. And I've been lucky enough to have been coached by some of the top business, productivity, and real estate coaches in the world. A lot of them had amazing resources. However, what I found was I was unable to find a resource that could compress all of my real estate, entrepreneurial, and personal needs into one simple format that I would actually complete every week. This turned into years of tweaking, and my coaches can attest to this because they would see revised versions over the years. And it just kept tweaking until I came up with what is currently called the best weekly planner. Now, as I mentioned, that's a tall claim. So let me go ahead and revise that too. I have found this to become the best weekly planner for me. And after this webinar, you may find that it's also a good fit and the best weekly planner for you. All right, so this is broken down into 6 sections. Number 1 is the one key result this week, and we work off of what's called the project list. Number 2 is days of the week, and this works off of what I call the per optimizer, and that's based off of previous webinars for those of you that have watched them. And that's based off of our 3-part series called the Magic Time System. Number 3, the weekly habit. Number 4, celebrate your wins. Number 5, my personal updates. And then 6, real estate activity. All right, so let's jump into the first part, the one key result this week and the project list. So one key result this week, it's based off of a book that I read by Gary Keller. This actually started off with 3 projects a week. As many of us know, we rarely have one, and sometimes we rarely even have only 3 projects that's happening at one time. We tend to have a lot of projects. After reading Keller's book, what I decided was that we're going to highlight one project that is our key project. And what that means is you're going to choose one larger project that you want to complete. When you quote unquote have extra time, this is where your focus will go. And the goal is completion. Another tip here is that if your project is a larger project and unable to be completed within a 1-week time frame, then this may become your one key result this week for multiple weeks, again, until completion. And then as well, something I found helpful is you want to utilize the project list to brainstorm personal and professional projects. And then you want to highlight and transfer one project at a time into the one key result this week section of your weekly planner. So if you look over here to the right, here is an example of the project list. Very simple. I actually like to print this out and carry it around with me. And it's basically just a brain dump of all the projects and things that are just swirling around in my brain. So you'll see here, step 1, brainstorm any projects, big or small, that you want to accomplish. And there is no order to this process. Just capture your thoughts on this piece of paper. Step 2, reference this list for projects to input into the one key result this week. The next section of the best weekly planner is days of the week, and this works off of the time modules called the per optimizer. Real estate requires that we work within specific timeframes. Now, for those of you that already have a time system that works really well for you, then that's fantastic. For those of you that don't, then I highly suggest that you watch this Magic Time System webinar. It's called the Per Optimizer. As you guys know, the Magic Time System is a 3-part series, and we deep dive into what these modules mean. You'll see that I interchangeably say modules, timeframes, and days, just so as not to trip you up. I mean the same thing. Really, I mean modules. Some of you over time will eventually turn those modules into days. Our goal, and something that the weekly planner is going to help us in achieving, is we're going to try to lean more into one type of module so that we have a little bit more structure to each day. All right, let's move to the next slide. For those that would like a quick refresher as we work through my live example of how I complete my weekly planner, the Per Optimizer, it stands for plan. So it acts as a cleanup and preparation between execute and rest modules. Execute, this is when we perform revenue generating activity. Reflect, these are modules that you prioritize movement and you allow yourself to process work. And the rest module. Rest and recovery modules are times in which absolutely no work is performed or discussed. All right, the next section is the weekly habit. The weekly habit is a personal habit. So this is not a professional habit. This is a personal habit, usually health related, I've noticed. Not necessarily does it have to be. I've just noticed that it tends to be. I often repeat my weekly habit so that it covers anywhere from 3 to 10 weeks. It just depends on how much time I need for it to actually integrate as a habit. Now, people always ask me, how long does it take for a habit to stick? And truthfully, it's really personal, based on you and how well you tend to adopt new habits and new structure. And then also how much friction that you personally have against this specific habit. A blend of those will actually correlate into how long it may take for you to turn this into a habit. But plan on repeating the weekly habit. So that section of the weekly planner, plan on inputting that same weekly habit anywhere from 3 to 10 weeks. Now, some examples of this, which we'll also share in the live completion of the weekly planner. It can be things such as waking up at 5 a.m. It can be getting exercise in 5 days a week. And then this is really specific because it's a personal habit that I'm working on. It could be cold plunge for a total of 11 minutes per week in 4 session increments. All right, the next section is celebrate your wins. The purpose of celebrate your wins is to look back and reflect on your wins. You must complete all 3. Now, I'm going to share some weeks will be really easy because you're going to feel like you just crushed that week. And then some weeks will be really challenging. I have personally found that my biggest growth has come from weeks when I have to find 3 wins. And especially when I think that I had a terrible week. Just remember that this may take a little bit more time in the beginning. And then over time, this will become really quick once you learn the process. Because essentially what we're doing with this portion of the planner, you are retraining your brain. So again, like I mentioned, it'll get easier over time and it'll get faster over time. All right, the next section is my personal updates. I use my personal updates to track anything that I've been up to that doesn't fit within the other sections of the Best Weekly Planner. And I use this as a great place to update my coaches. Now, this way they have an idea of what I'm spending my time listening to, like books, podcasts, any questions that I may have, and general thoughts or notes. In case it's not apparent, David and I firmly believe in the power of coaching, mentors, and essentially getting into rooms with the right people. All right, the next section is real estate activity. Real estate activity is a great place for newer agents that need a simple place to track their activity. Now, just as a side note here, if you are a team lead or a seasoned agent, you may want to track other metrics, and this can be customized. So this weekly planner can be customized for you by sending us a request. And then as well, GoodLife members, you guys can order a custom version of this from us, and you can integrate this into your own personal update, or it's a great resource for team leads to share with their real estate agents. For those of you that want to order a custom version, yes, we can, bring in all of your custom hex codes. That's your color codes, your logos. We can customize it for you. All right. So one moment while I go ahead and switch gears here, and I am going to share these tools, and we're going to complete them together so you can see this live. All right, guys, so let's complete this together so you can see how this works. Here is the best weekly planner. I know you can see some of this background information here, but this is the best view, so I can actually zoom in and show you guys. This will all look familiar from the sections that we just discussed. So the reason that I went into such detail previously is if you ever get stuck on how to complete this, you can reference the earlier sections of this webinar. All right, so first of all, your name. Pretty straightforward, I hope. Date. Now, my goal is to complete this by every Sunday, and I email this to my coaches every Sunday. Because I like consistency and I like to use this as a quarterly review, I always make the date the Sunday that I plan to submit to my coaches. So I don't actually input the date that I am first filling this out. I actually make it every Sunday that's going to be sent to the coaches. So in this case, that will be this next Sunday is June 18th, 2023. All right, one key result this week. Now, if you guys remember, what we did was we transferred projects from the project list. So here's where this is really helpful. My brain doesn't always work where at an instant notice, I can think about what project I want and what is the most important project to focus on next. So what I did was I took that responsibility off of myself by utilizing the project list. What I mean by that is, as you remember, this is a brain dump. So what you'll do is as you live your life, you're going to write down personal and professional projects. So let's see, I actually want to build a fence in the front of the house with a black gate. All right, so that's about a 10K project that I am working on designing. Personally, I want to create Zapier connections for text. And we call this What Happens Next for real estate clients. Actually, it's for my listing launch process for my sellers. I want to finish my buyer masterclass. I already have the webinar slides. We add the lead magnet, the landing page, and the success page built out. I just need to film the video. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm not going to keep going, but these are larger projects, right? So when you move to this section of the one key result this week, it's pretty simple because all you do is just go down here and say, all right, of all of these projects, which one do I want to focus on this week? So for me, it's going to be this one. Let's see if this will copy and paste. You never know with me in technology. So there we go. That is my one key result this week. As you guys know, some projects are larger. You may input this exact same project for multiple weeks, and that's great. Your goal is to continue inputting it until it is complete. You're training yourself to complete one key project at a time. All right, now the next section right here, if you remember, this is based off of the Per Optimizer. I'm going to share with you how I like to claim my days, but I do have a specific sequence where I like to more heavily load specific modules into specific days. So for me, this is really simple because this has been my cadence for a while. Sunday, I like these as rest days. Okay. Mondays, I love these as planning days. I don't love to come off of a rest day and then move right into an execute module. I like to jump into a plan module. So what that means is Tuesday, I'm going to make an execute. So this is a great buffer. So you don't come into Monday screaming and hot, but off of a day where you were resting. It's kind of such a jarring transition. So I like to make it a little bit softer. Again, I tend to have at least one execute module on Mondays, but the majority of my modules tend to circle around planning. Tuesdays, I do like execute days. Thursdays, I also like execute days. The reason is because these are your money-making generating activities. And I say days, but we're working within modules. If you remember my disclaimer from earlier, Tuesday and Thursdays tend to be days where most other folks are most available. This also matches up with social media scheduling. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays tend to be great days to post social media because people have higher engagement. Mondays just tend to be really challenging because people are, again, if they're having a Monday. So I don't even try to execute on Mondays if I don't have to. Tuesday, Thursdays, very strategic, very purposeful. When I actually perform revenue generating activities, I have a higher contact and response rate from my clients on those days. Wednesdays, I love these to be reflect days. So I had spoken with a coach about this, and I remember Steve Olson, a lot of you guys know this. I remember at one point he was like, why not pick a random day of the week as your day off, instead of Sunday? Why not like Wednesday? Why not? And that's true for any of you. You absolutely could have Wednesday as your rest day. For me, I like to be within work mode on Wednesday, but I like to make the purpose of this day more heavily a reflect style. For me, that works as a great buffer. Execute, revenue generating activities, movement, process work, execute, revenue generating activities. So this is all very strategic for me on how I manage my energy. Fridays, I tend to find are really great days for either plan or reflect. So I tend to move more towards plan. And that's where you get to clean up a lot of the activity that's happened from the week. And then you move into Saturday. As we know, Saturday and Sundays, a lot of you will show real estate. A lot of showings happen over the weekend, a lot of open houses. But on Saturdays, when I'm not in a place where I have to perform those, anytime that I am not working, or if I don't have to work, then I choose Saturdays to be reflect again. Here is usually my ideal week when it's a normal work week. Sundays are rest, Mondays plan, Tuesdays execute, Wednesdays reflect, Thursdays execute, Fridays plan, Saturday is reflect. Weekly habit. As you remember, usually weekly habit tends to be more of a personal habit. And oh no, we fixed this, but it's not showing up and typing for you guys. My weekly habit is actually based off the example. I'm working on cold plunge just due to all of the mental and physical health benefits. If you listen to Andrew Huberman and the Huberman Lab podcast, what they found is 11 minutes per week is really the minimum viable dose of time within cold plunge to obtain optimal results. All right, celebrate your wins. This is the one where I said it's going to take time because you're retraining your brain. We first think about 3 wins from the week, and how I fill this out is I first fill out all of my 3 achievements first. So I work down, and then when I'm done with the 3 wins, I then work across. Again, you can complete this any way that works for you. This is over time, the process that really works well for my brain. So let's look at 3 achievements. 3 achievements was I got 2 listings live in Crested Butte. Another achievement is that I got to spend quality time with 3 really good girlfriends. And that was in person. And that was a really big win for me to be able to spend all that quality time with those amazing human beings. And then another achievement, gosh, let me think here. There's actually quite a bit happening. But I would say another win is that I got to go on a hike in Crested Butte. It's been a really big winter in Crested Butte. So the trails have been really slow to melt out and they've been muddy. And as you know, we don't hike or bike when it's muddy because that actually tears up the trails further. So being able to hike and be outside and just be in that clean, mountain air with those phenomenal views. That was a really big win for me. All right, so here are my 3 wins. Now, 2 listings live in Crested Butte. Why is this a win for me? This is a win because I obtained these listings remotely while in San Diego. That's a big win because I was questioning whether I would be able to handle both businesses traveling back and forth, and it was actually pretty seamless. Is there further action that needs to happen here on the 2 listings that are live in Crested Butte? Yes, we actually have a lot of marketing, but in the case of here, I think that the next further action is I want some more organic photos and short form videos that we are going to share across social media. And they're going to be less produced like our professional photos and videos that we take. And they're going to be a little bit more organic so that we can kind of pepper them through our social media to kind of friendly share that those listings are live to our social media audience. So what would be a specific action? Well, I actually took some organic video before I left. And so for me, that would actually be uploading to a Google Drive file and have my video editor have him edit and post. Okay. All right, next one is my next win was quality time with 3 girlfriends in person. The reason this is important is that I travel a lot, and there's just something about being live and in, physical proximity of people. That's just something that you lose sometimes over a phone call or a webinar, not a webinar, but a Zoom call or FaceTime. So I travel a lot, and it was nice to have a real in-person meet. It was just really nice. Now, any further action? I would say there's a lot of things we could do here. It would be maybe just to send a quick text, letting them know how much I appreciate them. And then is there a specific action? And I might say, yes, actually, Friday is a really good day for me to get caught up with everything that's happening in my life. So if I don't hear from them by Friday, then this Friday, which is June 16th, I will send texts to all 3. And then bonuses actually to more friends, not just the ones I saw in person. Okay, next achievement, hike in Crested Butte. The reason, I love being outdoors. And trust me, California, San Diego is beautiful. You have the beaches. It's currently in May and June gloom, but it's beautiful. However, it's really challenging to find any place in the world that has the beautiful mountains that Crested Butte has. So I just love being outdoors, and I just missed being in the Colorado mountains. All right. Is there any further action needed? Yeah, I actually think that my next trip out there, I'm going to fly or drive out for work. I actually want to plan on a longer hike. There are some really epic ones. As you guys know, there's a hike to Aspen, which I've done. I've snowmobiled that. I've hiked it. And then there's also some hot springs. Is that Conundrum? I think you can only hike in and hike out, pack in, pack out. So I want to plan on a longer, and I'm going to call this epic hike, because those just make me really happy. So is there a specific action for this? There is actually. If it's going to be a longer hike and I want to perform this with friends, then I need to start planning now. This actually works really well with my above specific action. This Friday at 6:16, I'll send text to all 3 to let them know I appreciate them. You know what? In that same text, I'm going to also suggest text. I'm going to suggest and plan that hike, that epic hike with my girlfriends. Okay. Now, really quickly, what I do here, just so you guys know, so that these specific actions don't get lost, right? Because a lot of us have multiple areas in which we are inputting information, right? You might have a project management board like Asana, Trello. I use ClickUp. You might have notes in your CRM, right? Your follow-up boss, your Lions Desk, Sierra Interactive. I personally use Keep. You might have a Google Calendar. You might have notes in your notes section on your cell phone. This is like yet another place where you create a to-do list. It's really easy for you to miss. So this is actually really easy. All I do is I take specific actions, I copy them, and then I paste them into my Google Calendar on the date that those need to be achieved, and then done. I don't have to worry that I missed something here. They get transported over to my Google Calendar, and they're just added as another to-do item. All right, so next is my personal updates. This is a great area to share information with your coaches. So what I need or have questions on. So for me, this might be, my question is for the buyer masterclass for Crested View. I completed the slides, but I realized there are resort specific buyer data points that I did not cover in that webinar. So my question to my coach is it worth delaying this lead magnet for another 2 weeks to perfect that, or should I launch as is? Okay, so that's a real question. Podcasts, videos, movies, books. The reason this is great is that you get to look back when you're performing your quarterly review, should you choose to use this tool for that. And it's nice to see how you were doing monetarily with your habits, what your mindset was like. Were you in a good place or you're in a bad place? And what were you filling your mind with during that time? It's really insightful to peek back at this. So for me, some podcasts I'm listening to is Huberman Lab. I love him and I listen to that consistently. I actually listened to 3 of his podcasts on my drive from Crested to San Diego. As you know, those are not short form. They're an hour and a half to 3 hours. So I was able to get some really good data in. I have been watching a ton of videos on YouTube. My videos on YouTube have been about ClickUp because I've been working on automation and creating connections between all of my tools. Books, I haven't picked up a new book recently. Shame on me, but I haven't. And then movies, video on Netflix. So it is Queer Eye for a Straight Guy. I love those guys and I love transformation. And so to see each of them in their element and then in the end, how much they make an impact in these people's lives, I just love it. So I've been watching a few of those episodes. All right, general thoughts and notes. This is a great section that you can just share anything that you want with your coaches that doesn't fit in any of these other boxes. So this is really almost like a free box. Travel between my 2 markets takes up about 2 days. And that's between the actual travel time and the time it takes for me to get settled and back into a productive state. All right, so that's just a general note for them. All right, and then real estate activity, team leads, this would be a little bit different and we could customize that for you really easily. If you are a solo agent or you're still a team lead and a producing agent, then this is pretty straightforward. So new listings, 2, new pending, 1, new sold, total. So this is new activity on the left. And then you get to track where you are. It's always good to track and measure. And so this is a really simple place for you to sit down and put all those numbers just very clear in front of you. So total active listings, total number pending, and then total GCI pending. Again, really great for you to view these. Put these in the right area. Okay, so that is how I complete my weekly planner.